As I mentioned at the beginning of Mass, I'm Father Vic Gallier. I'm the director of the Office of Senior Priest, and one of the roles that I do for the Archdiocese is when a priest dies, I help take care of all the planning for his funeral and getting his family in town and making sure they have places to stay and are fed and all these things. And this week we had a funeral of Father Richard Wise, which created a lot of extra work for a normal work week for me. And yesterday I was finishing up at the ordinations. We had ordinations of 4 new priests yesterday. And I thought I'm going to swing by and help my friends out, then I'm going to go home and take a nap because I'm exhausted. I stopped by my friend's house to help them out, and while I was there, Father Adam called and said, "Hey, I know this is last minute, but do you think you could cover the masses on Sunday morning?" And I said, "Yeah, but you don't sound so great. Who's doing your evening mass tonight?" And he says, "I think I can get through that one." I said, "Why don't I just come on out and start tonight?" He said, "Oh, that'd be great." So I got all my stuff packed up and started heading out here, and I got to the exit here off I-20. Is it 20? Yeah, 20, sorry. And I said, "I'm here." It was like 5 after 4. I thought, I have like 20 minutes. I could just pull into the racetrack and just take a quick little nap, because I'm pretty tired. Because I thought, if I'm far enough away in this parking lot, I'll just recline my seat. So I reclined my seat and turned on some like easy music, and it seemed quiet, and I started falling asleep, and it was nice. And then someone pulled up next to me in their car, and they had less than easy music playing. And so I was like startled. Well, there goes my perfect little nap here. And then they got out of their car and went into the store, and they needed to make sure their car was locked, so they checked it once, and then twice, and then a third time. And this plan was perfect. I even have a setting now in my car, like since I do a lot of driving around when I can get a chance, I just press the memorize seat thing and it just reclines fully. I love it. Messing up my perfect little time here that I had. And then, you know those motorcycles, you can almost feel them before you hear them? A few of those went through. I thought, oh, come on. And then slowly the rain started to fall, and it was in tempo with my music, so I was, okay, I'm going to go back to sleep here. And then it was just enough that I have this feature in my new car that the windshield wipers operate automatically. It's like, why are my windshield wipers on? And I thought, come on. I had this all planned out. This is going to be a perfect little nap. And then you people arrived. I didn't have to look, not you people, well, you, but not you people. People in general. I wanted this, I had this plan in my head. It was going to be a nice little time to just sit there and relax. And I think that happens to us frequently. We have our own ideas of what we want to have happen, what I want to have happen, and then other people, because there are always other people, they get involved. And what I was noticing about myself was the judgments I had about that person who pulled up next to me. I didn't even look at their car, find out if it was a man or a woman, some teenager driving, nothing. I just thought, 3 times you have to check your alarm, or you're at racetrack. I don't know how long you're going to be in there, but 3 times, I'm sure it's locked. You're going to be fine. Everything was just kind of felt like it was conspiring against me. And as I get older, I start to realize that I'm not a complete package. I guess I thought I was more of a complete package earlier on, but now I'm realizing how much I still have to learn, and that journey that I'm on is one towards wholeness. And so I started to reflect on myself, and I said, I'm having all these judgments about that person or the motorcycles, or even God putting the rain in there with the stupid little, automatic windshield wiper thing. And then I was thinking about the gospel. Because we've heard that John 3:16 enough. God so loved the world, he sent his only son into the world, right? It's the next line that I think is important for us. The next line is, he says, he did not send Jesus to condemn the world, but to save the world through his action. And that's an important piece there, because that condemnation comes, and I think we can see the sense of, there's judgment upon all the nations, but not on the world as a whole, not like it's all broken and horrible. And so I read that and I think, maybe to be a better Christian and to go along with what Paul was saying in his letter to the Corinthians, maybe I need to get rid of these judgments in my life, even over stuff I really don't have a lot of control over. And I think that at times in my upbringing and in our society, we're told frequently that life is a zero-sum game. There's just going to be a winner and going to be a loser, so you better make sure you're not one of the losers. You've got to make sure you're a winner. It becomes that way in politics or finances, or even college sports. It just has to be. We're better, they're not. And I think that has given me a lot in my mind and in my heart, a lot of judgments. And so when I have this perfect little, I'm going to take just a few minutes to take a little nap here, and then you people came along. I mean, I'm sure none of you were at racetrack yesterday at 10 after 4, but you know what I mean, like other people came along. And that's the messiness that life provides us. There's always going to be other people. It's going to be the people as you pull out of the parking lot today. Or maybe as you were pulling into the parking lot, and there was that one person who has to back into the parking spot. Instead of just pulling their car straight into a spot, they got to do like a 22-point turn to get their car in there. And I have never had this thought, which is why I know it so well, of like, just pull your car in forwards and then pull out, it's so much easier. And I realize there's people saying, backing in's better, safer. Okay, I get it. But man, some people really just need to let other people, let the car do it for you. Just park and... But that's I think the problem. Paul's telling his people how to live in Christian community. Greet each other with a holy kiss. Bring that peace and welcome with you. Don't bring the judgments with you. And I think that for us in the church, we certainly learned it under Pope Benedict XVI, but also in Pope John Paul II. They started to develop a concept that one is pretty good for the popes to teach about, but they say it in Latin, it's called et. It means both and. Because the popes, one of their titles is Pontifex Maximus, the best bridge builder. And what happens when I get into my judgment stuff is I'm no longer worried about building bridges. I want to build walls that separate me from other people. I want to build a wall that can create my quiet space so that that car can't bother me, those motorcycles can't bother my little nap that I'm trying to take, or whatever it might be in my life. The popes teach us, and certainly through the continuation of Benedict's thought in Pope Francis and in Pope Leo, when we start to communicate with one another in the church and listen to each other in the church through the Synod on Synodality, to take the time to hear and to listen to one another. Because when we can take the time to learn about one another and what other people are going through, then we have an opportunity to bring more compassion and mercy into that situation. I find a lot of times in myself, and when I hear other people talking about their own judgmental attitudes, the problem really is they don't know that other person. They just know that that other person isn't doing it exactly like they want them to, And that's not what Paul is telling us. That's not what the Lord has come to show us. I mean, do you know that there are people in our world that if you don't put the forks, when you're loading up the dishwasher, if you don't put the forks next to the other forks and the big spoons, is that you? She's just like, that's me. Big spoons by the big spoons, little spoons by the little spoons, and the knives here, and all. Like, they go crazy. I'm sorry, that's too mean of a word. I'm not sure what that word would be, but crazy seems to fit. But imagine needing to have that level of control, and then you have to go deal with other people in the world. Or have a guest like me who shows up and like, oh, I'll help load the dishwasher. And I had this one friend of mine, and she said, oh, Father, just stop. It wasn't her that was going to be upset, it was him. She was saving me from him coming in going, forks have to go by the forks, Father. Spoons have to go by the spoons. And I don't even understand that. So I asked him, he said, well, it just makes it easier when you unload things. And all these go here and go here, and I go, okay, so maybe there's a different perspective. I built a little bridge, but how frequently in my life do I try to always build bridge with other people who I don't agree with? You know? How about in your own lives? You know, we're called to live this life as this ideal Christian community, and we know that we won't have something perfect until heaven, but on the way we can certainly try to build it, and if walls are the things that I end up building more than bridges, I don't think I'm living up to what the Lord has shown me in his model. I was listening to some guy, some Catholic person on the internet, talking about issues of race. And I pastored St. Anthony of Padua Parish in Atlanta, which is a black Catholic church. And the things this guy was saying, I thought, that's not good theology. And then he was talking about race issues and things. I said, I would not use those words. And I thought to myself, does this guy even know any black people? Does he have black friends? So he knows what the experience is like. And I think at times in our world when we don't know people, we just assume we know what everything is like for them, or I just assume I know what everything is like for them, then my judgments can really creep in. And that happens frequently in our world today. It happens frequently in my life. Look at situations with immigrants. Look at situations with LGBTQIA folks. I had a friend of mine, and we were at a dinner, and it was kind of a serious conversation, and he started saying some things about some trans individuals. He was talking about trans issues in general. And I didn't do it at the dinner table. I wanted to. Do you ever have dinner with someone, and they're just really cocky, and you just want to go, let me take you down one peg? I wanted to, but I didn't. But afterwards, I went to him, and I said, do you know any trans people? I mean, I know 4 trans people. And I would not say they're friends, I just know them, and they would take my call if I called them. I said, do you know anybody who's trans? No. I said, well, you were certainly speaking with a lot of authority there, like you understand their entire situation, what's going on in their lives. I said, would you be open to talking with one of my friends if they would agree to talk with you? No, probably not, he said. And I thought, and there's the problem. If we're not ready to build bridges to understand where people are coming from, and I'm not talking about people who are out to hurt other people. We need to understand, people who have severe psychosis who really are only out to hurt other people. But how do we deal with one another if we can't even have those conversations? How are we supposed to even come close to what Paul's calling us to? And how do we follow in the footsteps of Jesus, who we know the Lord has sent to save us from sin and death? And he's come not to condemn the world, but to save the world. And if we're part and have been baptized into the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that's our mission. That's our goal, to go into that world, not looking to build more walls, but looking to understand people, to find mercy and love with them. Because life is just messy and challenging. But I believe that we can be those sorts of people like Paul wanted his community in Corinth to be, to live in peace with one another, to bring mercy into their daily lives, to be good to one another. Greet each other with a holy kiss, he says. As I said, the older I get, the more I learn that this journey is just going to continue on, and it's this journey towards wholeness. You'll even hear about that in the final prayer this morning. I'm ready to continue this journey towards wholeness, towards a better understanding of what God has before me. And I hope that you'll do the same. One of the things I do a thing called men's work. And when someone says something that resonates, or we hear something, a man say something that says, oh, well, I had an issue with this week. And if you feel that same way, you raise your hand. And I felt, this is my third time kind of putting this homily together, but I thought, geez, no one's raising their hand when I say, I know I have judgments about other people. But if you did, I bet some hands would go up in the church as well, right? Because I know I have judgments about other people, and sometimes they are unfair. There a couple hands went up. I know that I can do better in my journey as a Christian by judging less and loving more. I know I can do that, and I believe that we as the people of God can do that, because we have the scriptures, we have the Eucharist, we have one another to support us. And I believe I can do better. May you be blessed this week on your journey as Christian disciples. Bring the love that the Holy Trinity provides us, this loving Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, bring it into our world. Because, as we know, the Lord did not come to condemn the world, he came to save the world, and that is our task. That is my task. May you be blessed on your journey this week as Christian disciples.